Waibel. How are you doing?
Yes, hello, Sawadee Krap. I'm
สวัสดี
okay.
Okay. Uh, today is very good day. It's raining. That's why I'm sorry for uh, taking a little bit late. No, not a little bit. It's about 2 hours. Uh, thank you for giving me a time to interview you. And it's gonna take. I don't know. It depends on the conversation goes and time that you uh, available to talk to me. Okay. So at first of all, I think you give me some information about yourself already, but I think you should introduce yourself to my audience, to the audience. Okay.
Okay. Thank you. Yes, thank you, Kunke. Yeah, it's nice talking to you, and it's no problem about the time because it's only about noontime in Germany, so no problem.
Okay.
Um, yeah, I'm a professor at the Leibniz University at Hanover.
Mm-hmm.
Hanover is in the heart of Germany, in the middle.
Mm.
And I have been working with Thailand and Thai researchers for a very long time. Actually, the first time I came to Thailand was as a student in 1976.
You were
Uh,
student at the time.
I was a student at the time. I was just passing through from some scholarship in Philippines, and then I stopped over in Thailand. So this was my first time in Thailand,
Uh-huh.
76 in October, actually.
Mm-hmm.
And then I came back in 1983 as a consultant
Mm-hmm.
for the Department of Agriculture
Mm-hmm.
Extension,
Mm-hmm.
Thongson Ghasait, right?
Another owner.
Hello, Sawadee Krap. And then I got a job with the German Agency for Technical Cooperation.
Okay.
And they had a project on, actually, it was on rice pest monitoring system in
Mm-hmm.
Thailand. Again, this was with the Department of Agriculture and Extension. And so I worked there as a deputy project manager, helping to set up the statistical concept of the surveillance system in rice.
Mm-hmm.
Um, until between 1984 and 1988.
Oh wow, yeah.
Okay, long time ago, right? You might be just born at that time. And then after that, I got a job as associate professor at the Asian Institute of Technology,
AIT. Bangkok.
ITLI Technology Asia. I think you know in Rangsit, right?
Uh-huh. Yeah, I
It's
know that.
the Thammasat compound.
Mm-hmm.
And
Mm-hmm.
so I worked there for 3 years as an associate
Really?
professor,
Mm.
and I have many students from Asia who became then professor also in universities in Thailand, in Vietnam,
Mm-hmm.
in
Mm-hmm.
Indonesia, and
Mm-hmm.
other countries. And then in 1981, I got an offer from a German university
Okay.
in Göttingen, actually University of Göttingen, which is quite famous university.
Mm-hmm.
And I went there as a professor of agriculture economics. And
Mm-hmm.
3 years later, I got a permanent position at the Leibniz University in Hanover. And now, after I went back to Germany, I continued to maintain close research collaboration with Thailand. Yeah, so with Kasetsat, with
Mm-hmm.
Chula, with TDRI especially,
Mm-hmm.
and then later with Ubon Ratchathani University.
Okay, so that's why you now continue to do the research with Ubon Ratchathani University, right?
Yes, right.
Wow. Uh, you seems like living, not even only working, right? Living in Thailand for many years, and you seems know a lot about agriculture in Thailand, right? Can I say
Ye-
that or
Yeah, I think you could say about agriculture and the economy, right? The rural economy. So my field is not the technical field, but the rural economy. I think I have a good understanding about the rural economy and the farmers and the rural people. I spent a lot of time with the rural people all over Thailand, but mainly in Isaan, in Northeast.
Oh, okay, that's good. That's very good. That's why you here for this interview, because I heard that you more working and living in the rural area in Isaan before, and you pretty much know about Isaan
Yeah,
culture
I think so, a
or
little bit. And
yeah.
also because I used to travel through Isan by bicycle, right, from province to province. And so
Yeah,
when you're on the bicycle, you see much more than if you just
three
ride a car.
trips,
Right?
right? 3 trips,
Yes,
big bike uh biking trips in Isan in Thailand.
right, right.
Yeah, that's what very impressive for,
Mhm.
for me. I know
It's
I
okay.
followed for the
Many
last time.
people now do it, right? Many people now do it. It's good for your health. Huh? So
That's very good. So we talked before about the article that talking or focusing on the Isan women who married to
right,
the foreigner,
right,
especially
right,
like white people. So
mhm,
and I sent you yesterday, right?
right.
The Thai version, and yeah, of course, you use the translation, or people in Thai people in Germany can help you to translate that, and you see the point of that article, or you see
Yes, yes. No,
what
no.
is it?
No, no. I read the article, and
Yeah.
yeah, of course, I cannot. Reading Thai is very limited. I can only read a
Uh-huh.
few symbols and letters, but I
The
had a good
idea.
translation, and I think it's pretty clear what
Uh-huh.
the content of this article was. And
Yeah.
yeah, I feel fit to make some comments on that
Okay.
article. Mm.
Okay. Tell me about that. Tell us about that.
Yeah, I think this was written by an author who doesn't know much about the rural situation in Thailand.
Mm-hmm.
Maybe never have gone there. And
I
I
thought
just
so.
want to tell you one small story about when we started our projects. And this project in with Ubon Ratchathani University
Mm-hmm.
is about a panel survey, and we interview 2,200 households in 3 provinces, Nakhon
Mm-hmm.
Phanom, Ubon
Mm-hmm.
Ratchathani, and Buriram,
Yeah.
basically almost every year. And so
Yeah.
we ask a Thai student to join us in this. And in 2008, I had a Thai student who actually was a PhD student here in Germany with another colleague. She
Mm-hmm.
was from the Ministry of Finance.
Mm-hmm.
And so we asked her to join and help us in the survey, and she agreed. But then she said to her parents, who were both doctors, medical doctors in Bangkok, would not
Mm-hmm.
want to allow her to go to Northeast Thailand and to work, to go to the rural villages. So
Oh.
finally, we convinced her and the parents that they let her
Uh-huh.
go, and she really wanted to go because she never has been, in all her life, she has never been to a village in Thailand. She has always lived in Bangkok and around there. And then she
Believable.
really learned the life in the rural area, and she liked it so much. And she said this was the best experience in her life. And now she is a high-ranking official in the Ministry of Finance in Thailand. So she
Uh,
got her PhD and everything. And so this was a very good experience for her. And I think the woman who wrote that article has never been. She
her
maybe
name
she should have also had that experience. I think if she
Pintong.
had that experience, she would not write what she wrote.
Well,
Uh,
not about that though. It's still.
yeah, I think if you really look at the substance of that paper, she
Yeah.
picks individual cases.
Right. Right.
And
Yeah.
then she says that is representative or that is typical. And she has no evidence for that. She
Not
just
at
picks
all.
okay. She just picks a story. Okay,
Right. Right.
she
Yeah.
picks the
She said
story of
no.
that.
No research evidence. Nothing. Just from her, and she has the servants. Her servants from Konchai,
Yeah,
from East.
yeah,
That's
right. She
only
had
experience.
one helper in her house who is from, yeah,
Right.
I can tell you also the story of the helper that we had in our house in when I lived in Thailand. I lived
Yeah.
in Sabari and then went to work at DOAE and later at AIT. And
Mm-hmm.
so we had one helper and she was from Khon Kaen. And,
You
and
also
this
have.
helper, she in she had a good salary actually because she worked.
Mm-hmm.
She was just the only one that who did all the household and two
Mm-hmm.
children, and she take care
Mm-hmm.
of them.
Mm-hmm.
And so she saved all her money. And
Mm-hmm.
by the time we left Thailand, we took her back and visited her in her village. And by
Yeah.
that time, she had bought 15 cows, 15 cows with all the money that she saved. Yeah.
Yeah.
So
Wow.
she saved the money and she invested in in
Yeah.
in in her village in Khon Kaen, near Khon Kaen area. So that
Mm-hmm.
is another, just one example, right? So
Yeah.
everybody can have an example like that
Right.
and pick an example that is like, okay, not typical. But I think we can talk about, especially with the data that we have, we can talk about
Yeah.
representativeness and we can
Right.
talk about typical
Mm-hmm.
because the typical case is that, of course, many of the female and male, younger female and male from the village, they go to Bangkok and other areas
Mm-hmm.
to work and send home money.
Yes.
And we find that actually the money that the women send home is more than the men, right?
Mm-hmm. Yeah. Yeah.
That's one evidence. So actually, what she said in the article that all they want to do is to marry foreigner. That is absolutely wrong because and we can also say in our sample of 2,200 households, we have only 1% of
Mm-hmm.
households that have a Falang
Mm-hmm.
person, right? Maybe
Mm-hmm.
less than 1%. So only a small number. So
Mm-hmm.
most women, they either are alone at home. We have about 20% of the households that we have in our sample are women-headed households. That means the man is away and the
Mm-hmm.
women have to manage everything.
Mm-hmm. Mm-hmm.
About 20%. So that's more than almost 500 of the 2,200 households are headed by a woman, an Isaan woman, who is
Mm-hmm.
managing everything, yeah, managing the farm, managing the family. So
Yeah. Yeah.
what can you say? I mean, they
They
play
got
a big role.
skills, that even though they may be not getting the formal education or the degrees and something like that, but they got skill to manage their life, their
That's a
family,
good
their
example.
local business. They pay
Yes.
taxes. They pay taxes.
Yes. Of course. Of course. No,
Yeah.
I mean the contribution to the economy, I think, is huge.
Yeah.
And if you want to talk about those women who marry Falang or any other foreigner, even Japanese or whatever, I think
Right.
their contribution to the economy is also big, even it's a small number. But
Yeah.
um, yeah, because I think the foreign husband usually what he would do is he would take care of if the woman have already children, and it's a
Mm-hmm.
normal procedure, a normal
Mm-hmm.
normal rule in our society that then the man has to take care of. If the woman brings a child into the marriage, then he also has to take care of the child. That's quite normal. So it's nothing.
Yeah.
And so, and he would always try to see that this child gets a good education. Of
Mm-hmm.
course, the
Right.
woman, it's very hard to give somebody education who is maybe 30 years old and has to
Right.
take care of the family. How can you upgrade somebody in educational level with that because
Mm-hmm.
she's busy with other things? But for the children, uh,
Yeah. Next
definitely have,
generation.
and definitely that is the case. Yeah.
Yeah. Yeah. So, okay, I have a question about this. Did you see something, or you have any opinion about the Thai society structure, like a social structure in Thailand, or like the gap between the rich and the poor, city and the
Mm.
rural
Yeah.
area? Have you
Yeah.
seen that?
Yeah, I think that is quite obvious. You can see that from not only from our data set, but you can have
Right.
a look at other data sets and statistics and the gap between the rich sort of, or let's say the rich in the urban areas and the poor in the rural areas,
Right.
that is dramatic, and that is even getting bigger.
Yeah.
Although many households in the rural area who are getting a lot better, but the gap is still increasing. So there's a lot
Yeah.
of households, and these tend to be more in the rural area, who are falling behind. First of all, the possibility for education is not as good, yeah, because
Yeah.
most of the teacher in the village, they don't have the same standard as in the big cities, and so a lot of the development efforts in Thailand are focused on Bangkok area and the cities.
Yeah,
And
yeah. Thailand is Bangkok. Bangkok is Thailand,
yeah,
something like that.
Bangkok, Thailand, yeah.
Yeah.
And that is
But
why you have this gap.
very big gap.
Mhm.
That's the article also saying like because of Isaan women not really intended to go to school because
Mm,
they just not interested in doing schooling, but more focusing on improving their economic status
mm,
by getting married with the foreigner or the rich, let's say. That's something that I feel very bad because when you accusing someone not intended to get a good
mm,
get education just because they're not interested in,
yeah.
but reality living in the rural area, the context of the family, the economy, and things different. Many girls want to go to school, but the family cannot afford that.
Yes, of
That's
course. Yeah.
why they have to choose another way to
Mm,
to improve their family status, to improve their children educations for the next generation, whatever. But my point is that like you just cannot standing up and saying something like that to to people, especially Isan,
mm,
because of your opinion or your experience, seeing just some individuals, and then you conclude this is representative of Isan. That's not the right way to do, and this is like discriminate.
mm,
And I compare my experience comparing I am from Isan and Isan people compare with other people from other regions.
mm,
Much different. The level of discrimination is different.
mm,
Like Bangkok people look at Isan people and look at the north or the south is different.
mm.
Isan's always under the ground.
Right,
That's my
right.
yeah.
Yeah, I think that is correct. What you say is correct. It's also my observation that I think the politics in Thailand is also discriminatory against the rural and against the poor people. If you know
Right.
all the social conflicts you have is about this rural urban gap, and
Yes.
it's about yeah, that people who are in like a white collar job and they are looking
Right.
down the people who work in
Correct.
the field, and
Yeah.
but it's probably not only in Thailand. This is a typical phenomena that people think agriculture is something low, is something
Mm-hmm.
dirty, but agriculture,
Mm-hmm.
to be I mean, to look at the facts, has been the backbone of the Thai economy. I mean, this is how it all started because you have
Yeah.
lots of land, you have surplus in some of the major commodities, uh,
Mm-hmm.
good food. So where does this all come from? So this is the base for all of that is agriculture. Uh,
Yeah.
and a lot of the small scale business, that's also something we can see in our data that the amount of small scale business in households, right? It could be beauty parlor, it could be some homemade things or some fabrics or
Yeah.
something that people make for on contract for a factory in Bangkok or something that
Mm-hmm.
is growing a lot, and this is run by women, run by Isaan women. And she says in this article that her maid, she cannot do the basic mathematics. But
Yes.
if this woman would not be able to do the basic mathematics, then I don't think they would make a good business, but obviously they do.
They do.
So even though maybe the formal education level is not so high, they manage.
Uh-huh.
So the practice of doing that
Yeah.
um, and the theory is very different. And I can tell you a very nice story on that one. And this is actually it's not from Thailand, but it's from Philippines. And
Yep.
when I worked with the Asian Development Bank, I worked for some time with the Asian Development Bank, and then I did some what I call a poverty experiments, right? So I
Mm-hmm.
take the job of a poor person, like
Yeah.
I take the job of a bicycle taxi driver. Yeah, you have also like that in Thailand. Sometimes you have
Yeah.
this, call it, and then I take the job of somebody who's selling cigarettes and
Mm-hmm.
candies. So it's just a wooden box, and you have cigarettes and candies. And
Mm-hmm.
you sit there somewhere on the road where there's many people, maybe at the bus stop, and then people come and they buy individual sticks of cigarettes and candies. And
Yeah.
so you have different cigarettes. Maybe you have Marlboro Light, and you have Hope, and you have this one with some perfume mated things, so different kinds with different prices. Okay.
Yeah.
Then somebody comes, some customer comes, and then he
Mm-hmm.
asks, okay, I want two of this, three of this, three of this. And then he throws like 20 baht to you, and he wants to change right away.
Mm-hmm.
So I sit with the guy who owns the box, and I ask
Yeah.
him, okay, I want to do this job for you, and you just, and it take me a while to calculate, okay, so how much is the change? And this guy, he never went to school. He did
Yeah.
it much faster than me because he remembered all the combinations, right? All the combinations that the customers are. So I learned something. I said, oh, if I have to do the calculations, it takes
Uh-huh.
me a while to figure out, okay, this one was 2 baht, this one was 1 baht 50, and this one was 3 baht, and how much of this? And he gave me 20, so deduct that, how much is it? And that guy was just in no time. He said, okay, this is the and he never went to
So
school. You see?
I,
He never went to
I
school.
am very bad at calculating. I am very bad with math. As I used to tell you that if you're judging me by give me some numbers and give me some time to calculating, I'm gonna be dying. I hate
Yeah,
that. So that's not the indication that you can judging people.
exactly.
That's
Yeah,
yeah.
exactly. I
Yeah.
agree. It's not, if you want to judge people, don't judge them by some formal education thing.
Right.
This is different. If you can have formal education, if you have access to it, if you had the opportunity to do it, yes. But it doesn't
Right.
even mean the one with the better formal education are the better business people. You don't have,
Mhm.
it's not like that. Not necessarily.
We have a calculator. We don't
Yeah,
need
you
that
have a
for now.
calculator. Exactly. You can do a calculator. Yeah. Mm.
Talking about education, uh you give me can you give me some briefly about the German education system compared with Thai?
Yeah. Okay. You mean comparing to the Thai system
Yeah,
also?
yeah.
Yeah.
If
I
you
mean,
if
of
you
course, you have. Uh, I mean, in Thailand, education, going to school is compulsory also.
right, yeah.
But probably when people drop out of school,
Mm-hmm.
it's probably less sanctioned than it would be in Germany. In Germany, it would not be easy to drop out from school.
Oh,
So there is a stricter requirement to really follow the school schedule up to grade 9. While we
okay.
see our data that a lot of people in the past, they
Mm-hmm.
dropped out grade 4.
Mm-hmm.
And they had to do that because there was a problem in the family could not afford, they were needed as
Mm-hmm.
laborers. So many people drop out very early from school. And we can see that from our data. And that is because there is no good insurance system. There's no social security for the people in the rural areas
Mm-hmm.
because there is so many shocks, right? I mean,
Yeah.
until the health coverage came in, then health shocks would always be a big economic shock and implication for the family. And then if some other shock with agriculture, then they would take the children out of school and ask them to help and do some work. And I can tell you, when I was a boy, I was also grew up on a farm in Germany, and this is a long time ago. And at that time, there was not so much mechanization, so a lot of the work was manual labor. And during the time the harvest of the cereals or also the hay, we make hay for the cows.
Yeah.
Then my grandfather would tell me, today you don't go to school because we need you to help. And I was 7 years old. Yeah. So this is the situation in the rural areas, and also because there was at that time there was not enough technology to do it differently. So there is a good reasons why children, we can observe that they don't get to the level of education that they should get. And that is, of course, in a country like Germany, which is rich, then that is a requirement. Everybody can go up to grade 9 or can go to an advanced education system, something like that. And that the gap also between rural and urban in Germany is pretty small, because even in a village, the school system is the same. The quality is the same. That is different in Thailand. In Thailand, if you meet a teacher in the village, and then she says she is English teacher, but actually she cannot speak English much, right? That's so.
Yeah. Even like math teacher, maybe she's not very good in math, but she just needs to teach
Yes.
children all subjects that needed
Right.
to teach.
Right.
So that's that's
And
another.
yeah, and I think that is one big problem. I think then when you hear that the Ministry of Education wants to give laptops to schools, and okay, fine, but you need to have also the human capital. You need to have the good teachers who can teach that, and who will be there permanently, and you have class on schedule and all of these things. And I think
You need to have a good prepare for the
yes,
teachers to
exactly,
teach
yeah, yes.
technology. Right.
And probably you have to pay them much more salary. I think they
Yeah.
now, but probably if you want to be a teacher in a village, okay, you need to have a good incentive to do that.
Yeah, it should be that. But I think I'm not really have much information about how teachers,
Mm.
earning so far. I don't know. But probably it's not that
Mm.
much, especially in the rural area maybe.
Yeah.
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 Yep. Let me see. Talking about discrimination, is any form of discrimination in Germany, like ethnic or economic status, is it appear?
Yes, I think discrimination is everywhere, and it's also, of course, there is discrimination against foreigners,
Mm-hmm.
against refugees. You may know that Germany had a lot of refugees coming
Mm-hmm.
in since 2015,
Yeah,
from
yeah, yeah.
mostly from the Arab and African countries,
Right.
the immigration policy. And so there's a lot of debate about that in
Mm-hmm.
Germany. So this has caused quite a lot of conflicts. And it's always that people are afraid of the things that they don't know. Huh?
Yeah.
And there is always this tendency to blame the outside. Right? You can see
Mm-hmm.
COVID crisis. Now every
Mm-hmm.
country thinks if it keeps the others out, it will be safe. But
Yeah.
the virus is already everywhere, so you cannot.
COVID-19.
COVID-19 is a good example, right? From discrimination of others.
Yes.
So you
Yes.
think
Even in
if you
Thailand,
keep others out, it's okay, but
it's very bad in Thailand
mm,
for this situation. Like
mm,
if you are poor, you went abroad working, for example, in Korea, South
right,
Korea.
Right.
they will treat you differently.
Mm-hmm.
From people who travel to Korea just for enjoying holiday,
Mm-hmm.
and
Mm-hmm.
during the COVID-19, when you come back to the country,
Mm-hmm.
if you are like a migrant worker, you come back to the
Mm-hmm.
country, you will treat it like living in the tent for
Mm-hmm.
14 days, like a
Yeah.
quarantine. But for
Mm.
the rest, you just can go home.
Mm. Yeah.
Why?
Yeah.
This is, yeah, this is
Yeah,
very
that
bad.
is, of course, there's the justice. There's a lot of injustice, and that is something that can be very dangerous for society, of course.
Yeah,
Yeah.
yeah, yeah. Especially like, for example, the case of South Korea. The majority of migrant worker in South Korea is from Isaan.
Mm.
It's kind of like a double
Right.
discrimination. Like
Mm.
you're Isaan, you are women, not even double, triple. And then you work as the massage woman
Mm.
in South Korea, and then you want to come back during the pandemic. You're
Mm.
not get like a very easy to come back to the family in
Yes.
Thailand.
Yes.
You get
Yes.
so many things that you need to get through.
Mm. Mm.
This is
Yeah.
yeah, I was complaining about this before. Like some of in my village,
Mm.
some of the women
Mhm.
now working in South Korea as
Okay.
like a massage or in agriculture
Yeah.
sector.
Right. Mm-hmm.
And when they wanted to come back during the pandemic, that's not easy.
Mm.
Some of them still in South Korea right now.
Mm.
So something like that, can tell us that Thailand have very bad
Mm.
discrimination
Mm.
against
Yeah.
women, against the poor,
Yeah.
basically.
Yeah, it is because if a society is very hierarchical, like the Thai
Mm,
society, then there is a tendency to give different weights to status,
yes.
right? And
Yeah.
that, of course, is not compatible with the UN Charter of Human Rights, which basically says everybody is the same. But the
Yeah.
reality may differ. Now, every country is a bit like that, but of course, the more advanced or richer countries, it
Mm-hmm.
is, and especially countries that have a good legal system,
Mm-hmm.
it is not so easy to
Right.
discriminate. And so that definitely helps, but it doesn't mean discrimination disappears. No, there is
Of
always,
course, of course. It's still there everywhere in the
yeah,
world. You can see in the United States,
yeah,
like
of course,
Lives Matter protests and things like that. Also now in Thailand,
yeah, yeah,
about the minority or about the ethnicity
right.
from East. I have question about the impact of the COVID-19 uh, on the economy in Germany. Is it hard?
Um, yeah, there is also, of course, there was impact on the economy contracts, so it's not growing like
Mm,
most economies now in Europe are contracting. So maybe 5% over the year decline,
mm-hmm.
yeah, in the economy. So that's especially the industry for automobile, for cars is hit pretty hard
Yeah.
because they are export dependent, and then the exports have gone down because other countries cannot, due to several restrictions, and also
Mm-hmm.
because they suffer economic decline, so the demand is less. The only country that
Mm-hmm.
is still growing is China at the moment. Surprisingly, yeah,
Yeah.
China is
Yeah.
growing. But yeah, the German economy is still pretty okay because I think they have found a more reasonable way of treating the crisis and not sort of going to very drastic measures like, okay, like for example, you as Thai people, you can travel to Germany.
Mm-hmm.
It's no problem because you are not on the risk list. But some
Mm-hmm.
other people, some other countries cannot. And we in Germany, we say certain countries you should not go. If you go, you take your own risk, like Spain and
Mm-hmm.
tourism that has just started and now it has stopped again. So yes,
Uh-huh.
course, a big effect on the economy, and but
Mm-hmm.
it's something that a rich country can absorb, I think.
Yeah.
And I'm not so sure how much this would damage. I mean, the Thai government has done a much more restrictive policy on
Yes.
the COVID, and this could be really disastrous for the economy if this.
Very bad.
That is
Especially
something we can see. Uh,
small, small business
yes,
dying.
yes, yes,
Yeah, that's bad. That's kind of like a tragedy
yeah.
for Thailand.
And that would be, and if you think it further, the result could be that, okay, the small business die and only the big companies take over. So the end of it would be you have more inequality than,
Yes,
yeah,
of course.
yeah,
Yeah, we're going to that in a
yes,
short time. I I believe because now small and medium
medium, yeah,
business dying. Many of them already die, and many of them going to die, and then eventually only big corporation will survive, and
yeah,
then as you said, bigger gap between poor and rich will be like a bigger and bigger, and that's gonna
exactly.
be uh country will go bankrupt, I guess.
Yeah, that is a risk. I think for Thai economy, I see a real risk that what is going on. Uh,
Mm-hmm.
but okay, I think you will see. They have to find a way that. I mean, they lose 40 million tourists, right? That's quite a big number. It's not
Yes.
something you can easily digest. And so
Now.
let's see how it develops. Now they have the Phuket model and they have some start, but we don't know. We have to observe how this goes. It's definitely quite risky. And,
Yeah, I see
and
that too.
yeah, the philosophy to say, okay, let's keep everybody out and then we will be safe, that I think is not a good conclusion because first of
You
all, the
eventually.
virus is already there and it can start out anywhere again. Uh,
Yeah, yeah. Okay, the last question. Do you have anything to say to Thai people, to Isaan people? Thai, that's why you
yeah,
said it
of
already. To
course. I
Isaan.
mean, I have my time with them. I even stay overnight in household. Like there is one family in Roy Ed, and I always go there and bike. And then
Uh-huh.
mother, she always let me take a shower in the
Yeah.
in the house, simple shower, give me
Uh,
water and give me some food, and then I go back to Ubon. And I
uh-huh.
never tell her when I come, and she's
Okay.
just always happy. Whenever I come, she's happy,
You
and
just walk
she's
in.
older than me. She's older than me, and then she's happy. And when I go, she cries. So it's such a nice, nice. And I sometimes it takes maybe half a year, 1 year, and suddenly I come with my bicycle, right? And she
Uh-huh.
would
Yeah.
always sit outside her house under this, small, what do you call that place where they sit outside. So I mean, they're very, very, very hospitable people, and when you get there, even as a foreigner, she didn't
Mm-hmm.
know me much, but
Mm-hmm.
now it's a very nice relationship, and I think people, usually in the rural areas, people are hospitable. They are open. They are, and they have their good ideas. They have good ideas. Yeah? It's not to say
Yeah.
they do
Yeah.
nothing. They do a lot, but they have a lot of constraints, and that we have to see. Mm.
Mm-hmm. Okay.
So
Thank you very much, and it's very good conversation, and hopefully we can do it again in the
yes,
future.
okay, great,
Okay,
okay,
very
okay, and
much,
thanks.
Professor
Yeah,
Bible, Germany. Stay safe. Thank you. I'm
okay, thank
gonna
you. Okay,
record
bye
this.
bye. Bye.
Wait. How